Mr. President, allow me also to address the much talked about second-year filling of the GERD. The second-year filling of the GERD happens in July and August of this year. We have proactively provided the necessary data on the modalities for the filling of the dam. Let me be clear. The filling of the GERD is part of the construction process. This is clearly stipulated in the Declaration of Principle our three heads of state signed in March 2015. The filling of the dam, Mr. President, is pure physics. And once the dam concrete reaches a certain height, the water either flows through the bottom outlets or overflows the concrete. The dam, as designed, will store water until it reaches the 13.5 billion cubic meters indicated in the filling schedule agreed to by Egypt and Sudan. It is only fair that country that generates 77 billion meter cube of water impounds a small fraction of the annual inflow for its hydroelectric dam. Egypt and Sudan do not need any convincing as to the fortunes they will acquire upon the completion of the dam. In the wise words of Sudanese officials, the GERD is an instrument of regional integration. The GERD for Sudan is what the Aswan High Dam is for Egypt. Here, I'm going out of my way to explain to you the absence of any threat caused by the GERD. However, we shouldn't even have to litigate the benefit Egypt and Sudan will acquire from the GERD to argue for our legitimate share from the Nile. All of us, Nile riparian countries, are there to share both the bounty and the scarcity. None of us ought to stand thirsty watching the others drink. Through the GERD, Ethiopia is summoning this common sense to prevail in the Nile Basin. Therefore, this council should not be dragged into the GERD negotiation in the expedient pursuit of domestic political objectives, as an example. Mr. President, if the Council consents to the path proffered by Egypt and Sudan, it will certainly to be entangled with resolving disputes on all transboundary rivers. Interestingly, other than one island sisterly country of ours, all members of this council have transboundary water courses. You have dealt with and continued to address differences bilaterally and through basin-wide efforts. The GERD talks and the process we have undergone since 2011 gave us a major lesson. Hopefully, this process will nudge us to work towards our regional mechanism on the Nile Basin. In this regard, it would be regrettable for the Council to circumvent this hope by unhelpful precedent whereby the member states impose through the Council what they should acquire by good faith negotiation. The Council should resist concerted efforts to turn it into a appellate body on transboundary rivers or negotiation. Mr. President, colonialism and colonial treaties thwarted Africa's ability to utilize its natural resource for the benefit of its people. The Nile Basin countries have recognized this problem and worked towards addressing it. In 1999, we established the Nile Basin Initiative, and in 2010, we adopted the Cooperative Framework Agreement, or CFA, on the Nile after 13 years of negotiation. In this framework agreement, which many of you in this council have financially and technically supported, the Nile Basin countries agreed to share the Nile water in an equitable and reasonable manner. We replaced the colonial and monopolistic claim with accepted principle of international law. This instrument is now awaiting tomorrow ratification for entry into force. The insatiable demands of Egypt and most recently Sudan are not about the most issue of the GERD, but about the future development projects in Ethiopia and the other riparian countries. Without an effective CFA and regional mechanism, similar application will inevitably come to this council. Today it is Ethiopia's dam, tomorrow it will be any one of the Nile Basin countries. The Nile belongs to all the people of the basin countries. All the 500 million of us in the 11 riparian countries, and the water is enough for all of us. In this regard, we urge our Egyptian and Sudanese brothers and sisters to understand that a resolution to the Nile issue will not come from the Security Council. It can only come from good faith negotiations with due care for the well-being and development of each other. Ethiopia looks forward to continuing the AU-led trilateral negotiation on the GERD. We have the solution at hand, and we can herald good news to the world by concluding a mutually acceptable outcome. Finally, Mr. President, allow me to respectfully request the Council to return this matter to the able and legitimate leadership of the African Union and encourage Egypt and Sudan to seriously and faithfully negotiate to reach a negotiated settlement on the first filling and the annual operations of the GERD. We also request the Council to make this meeting the last of its deliberation on the Grand Ethiopia Renaissance Dam. There is no subject matter as far from the mandate of the Council as this one. I thank you.
Je remercie.
I thank His Excellency Mr. Awolachu for his statement. There are no more names inscribed on the list of speakers. The meeting is adjourned.